All right, so we've got a seriously dangerous storm system on the way, and it's going to be packing a punch over the next few days. We're talking about multiple rounds of severe weather with strong long-track tornadoes in the forecast, damaging winds, and some potentially massive hail. But that's not all. At the same time, we've got a historic flooding event unfolding with multiple rounds of heavy rain setting up life-threatening flash flooding and major river flooding, especially across parts of the Mississippi Valley and Ohio Valley. So in today's update, I'm going to break down everything you need to know about the severe weather that's about to hit the U.S. Let's get right into it. Starting with today, there's a moderate risk of severe weather stretching from southeast Missouri down through northeast Texas. That's the zone where the biggest concern is. Right. Strong, long-track tornadoes. Honestly, this could end up being another tornado outbreak like what we saw a few days ago, but more localized this time, mainly across Arkansas, northeast Texas, and parts of southeast Missouri. But before we get into the details, hit the subscribe button like this video and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Now, there's also broader slight risk area that extends from southwest Indiana all the way into central Texas and even a marginal risk reaching back up into Ohio and Indiana. But the real driver of concern today isn't damaging winds. Those are actually on the lower end. The bigger deal is large to very large hail and tornadoes. Some of the supercells that fire up this afternoon and evening, especially in central Texas and up into Texarkana and northeastern Arkansas, could produce extremely destructive hail. And yeah, tornadoes, that's the headline. Both the enhanced and moderate risk zones are being driven almost entirely by the potential for strong, long-track tornadoes. That zone runs from Tyler, Texas, up through Little Rock, Jonesboro, and into far southeastern Missouri and southern Illinois. Right around Cape Girardeau, conditions are ripe for several discrete supercells to form, which is exactly the kind of setup we had a few days ago. But this time, the setup may end up a little messier, which could lower the overall tornado threat just slightly. Still, we're not out of the woods. There's a real possibility we'll see multiple tornadoes later today. So, please make sure you've got multiple ways to receive weather alerts and a tornado plan in place. I'll walk you through the timing in just a sec, but first, let's talk about Saturday. The threat doesn't let up tomorrow. There's another enhanced risk of severe weather, this time centered on the Mississippi River Valley in the Deep South. Again, we're looking at damaging winds, large hail, and a few tornadoes. As of right now, it looks like the risk for strong, long-track tornadoes is a bit lower on Saturday compared to today. It's not zero, but it's definitely a step down. Still, there's a tornado risk tomorrow in areas like northern and central Louisiana and southeastern Arkansas, pretty much hugging the Mississippi River Valley. Further north into Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee, the tornado threat is lower but not off the table. One of the biggest issues for Saturday is going to be the wind. We could see damaging gusts up to 80 MP, especially from around Memphis back down towards southern Louisiana near Lafayette. Hail will also be a concern, particularly during the early afternoon hours out of the initial round of supercells in Louisiana and southeast Arkansas. Now, Sunday, things begin to quiet down a bit, but not completely. The threat of severe weather shifts to the East Coast with damaging winds, large hail, and maybe a few tornadoes still possible. The overall environment won't be quite as favorable for tornadoes, but we'll still need to watch for a few spin-up. So let's get into the timing for today. We already had showers and storms out there this morning, but things will start ramping up around lunchtime. I'm expecting some storm development to begin in southeast Oklahoma and northeast Texas by about 2 or 3 p.m. Central. That's where we've had some clearing. More sunshine means more instability, and that's exactly what storms feed off of. Once we hit that 3 to 4 p.m. window, things really get going. Discrete supercells will start popping up, and these are the ones we'll be watching closely for tornado development. We're talking about storms capable of dropping strong and long-track tornadoes, plus hail the size of baseballs or even larger in some cases. By 5 p.m., I'm expecting to see some strong supercells near Little Rock and more storms developing back near Tyler, Texas, and Texarkana. Between 6 and 7 p.m., that severe weather spreads across Arkansas and northeast Texas. Any prefrontal supercells manage to stay isolated, they could pose an even more serious tornado threat. By 8 or 9 p.m., tornado chances should start to come down a bit in Arkansas. But it's not over. We'll still have a mess of storms moving through central Texas overnight, and those will carry the risk of hail and damaging winds heading into early Saturday. Now, looking ahead to the Ohio Valley later this afternoon, we'll have some storms there too. Nothing severe early on, but by 3 or 4 p.m., we could start to see a few hail-producing storms around St. Louis and southeast Missouri. Depending on where the boundary's set up and how far north that wind shear gets, we could see a couple of tornadoes sneak into areas like Paducah and Cape Girardeau, maybe even Lexington. It'll be a short-lived risk, but still something to watch. Later tonight, expect a line of storms to push across the lower Midwest into the Ohio Valley, bringing more damaging winds, large hail, and maybe a brief tornado or two into the overnight hours. Now, Saturday's a different beast. The storms are going to be moving slower, which changes the dynamics. Our tornado corridor by 2 to 3 p.m. stretches from East Texas into northern Louisiana and parts of western Tennessee. There's a shot at an isolated strong tornado or two in there, especially if the storm manages to mature ahead of the main line. But the overall setup is just not as favorable for big tornadoes as what we're seeing today. As we get into Saturday night, the tornado risk sticks around, but it'll mostly be brief, messy, and likely on the weaker side. We'll start Saturday morning with more storms already on the radar, mainly bringing hail and wind. After lunchtime, that tornado risk picks back up, especially near the Mississippi River Valley and maybe up into Kentucky. These storms are going to move slowly, and that's where our next big problem comes in. This entire region has already seen 5 to 10 inches of rain, and we've got another 5 to 10 inches coming in some spots. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing flash flood emergencies declared by Saturday night. We're witnessing a truly historic event here in terms of rainfall and flooding potential. By late Saturday night, that line of storms reaches Nashville and continues into Mississippi with damaging winds and maybe a little hail still possible. Very low-end tornado threat there, but still worth paying attention to. Down near the Gulf Coast, we'll also have a line of storms bringing gusty winds and a small chance for tornadoes into the overnight hours. Now, these spring nor'easters aren't super common, but they do happen kind of like the ones we see in the fall. If this one develops, it could bring heavy rain, gusty winds, and another dose of cold to the east. That said, we're talking about our 342 on the model here, so take it with a big old grain of salt. Switching over to the GFS model for some comparison, it shows a similar setup with that severe weather and overall cooling. Let's check out the snowfall map. We're seeing some snow for the Ohio Valley and then into the Northeast, especially around New York, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Maine from Sunday into Monday. So there's even a little more snow hanging on through Tuesday before that warm-up kicks in again mid-month as we get closer to the 20th. The GF doesn't show any real return of cold air, just a more stable, warmer pattern taking over. Total precipitation from the Euro model looks decent in the Northwest, but still technically below average for a lot of that region just because their normals are so high. The East, though, is seeing quite a bit of above average precipitation, especially the Southeast and surrounding areas. Snowfall in the West is kind of mess. Some of the mountain ranges are getting plowable amounts, but for April, it's underwhelming. More interestingly, the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast are actually looking like the best spots for snow chances, mainly in higher elevations, but still it's something. And finally, taking a look at the Storm Prediction Center outlook a day, Friday the 4th, we've got that general thunderstorm risk in light green, but don't let that fool you. These forecasts can get tricky, so take every watch and warning seriously. The dark green is your marginal risk, isolated severe reports expected. Then we've got that big yellow area, which is the slight risk, scattered severe storms likely. And then we get into the orange, the enhanced risk, more widespread severe potential. Finally, that red zone is the moderate risk. That covers parts of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri, where we're expecting pretty widespread and intense storms today. Looking at tomorrow, Saturday, we're still seeing severe weather. Maybe not a moderate risk yet, but there's room for it. And even on Sunday, we've got a pretty large marginal and slight risk area stretching from the deep south into the southeast and mid-Atlantic. So yeah, 3 more days of severe weather to get through here before we hopefully get a bit of a break. This has been a wild severe weather season so far, and a breather is definitely going to be welcome. That's going to wrap it up for today. If you found this update helpful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and tap the bell icon so you get notified every time I upload. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one.